And the first question says, Abid works in an office for 5 days each week. Each day he works from 8:15 until 12:50 and then 13:30 until 17:00. Work out the total time Abid works in 1 week, giving your answer in hours and minutes. So let's first calculate how much time does he spend working in 1 day. So from 18:50 to 12:40, if we subtract 8 from 8:15 to 12:40, so from 8:15 to 12:40, let's subtract 8:15 from 12:40, and that will give us 4:25. So 4 hours and 25 minutes is the first half for this. Then from 13:30 to 17, it starts from 13:30, then goes on to 14:30, then 15:30, then 16:30, and then from 16:30 to 17, it's going to be 30 minutes. It's going to be 1 hour, then 2 hour, then 3 hour, and then 30 minutes. So 3 hours and 30 minutes for the second half. So time spent working in 1 day is going to equal to 4 hour plus 3 hour plus 25 minutes plus 30 minutes. That's going to be 7 hours and 55 minutes. Now this is just for 1 hour. Now this is just for 1 day. He's working 5 days each week. So time spent in 1 week is going to be 5 times 7 hours and 55 minutes. So we're going to do 5 times 7 plus 5 times 55, going to be 35 plus 275. So we have 35 hours and 275 minutes right now. So obviously our minutes cannot be greater than 60. So for that, we need to remember that 1 hour has 60 minutes. 4 hours have 240 minutes. So if we subtract 240 from this, that means we're going to add 4 hours to 35, and 275 minus 240 is going to be 35 minutes. So in total, we're going to have 39 hours and 35 minutes. To summarize, first we found the time he spent working in the first half of his work. Then we found the time he spent in the second half of his work. So when you add that up, that gives us the time he spends working in 1 day. Then we find the time that he spent in the entire week, by the time that he spent working on 1 day to 5. And that gives us 35 hours plus. We broke down the 275 minutes into 4 hours and 35 minutes. 4 hours get added to 35, so there are 39 hours in total and 35 minutes. Abid earns $14.20 per hour. He is given a pay increase of 5%. Calculate the amount Abid earns per hour after the increase. So what we'll do is new amount will equal to the old amount, which is 14.20, plus the increase in the amount. The increase in the amount is by 5%. So that's going to be 14.20 plus 0.71. That should give you $14.91. That is going to be his new earning. Each month, he divides his earning between rent, bills, and savings. He uses 20% of his earnings for rent, 3/8 of his earning for bills, and the rest of his earnings are savings. So find the ratio of rent is to bills is to savings in its simplest form. Let's write rent, which is 20%. I'm going to convert the percentage into fractions. So 20 over 100 can be simplified to 1 over 5. Then we have bills, which is already given in a fraction, 3/8. And then we have savings, which will be found by subtracting both the fractions from 1. If it was in percentage form, you would subtract it from 100% because it says the rest of his earnings are savings. So we're going to take the entire earnings as a whole, which if we're using the quantities in fraction form, you take it as the whole is taken as 1. And if you're using the quantities in percentage form, then you take the whole as 100%. So hence we're doing 1 minus 105 minus 3 over 8, which will be 40 as the denominator, and numerator will be 40 minus 8 minus 15, which is going to give us 17 over 40. Now we have all three quantities in fraction form. So if I write this as a ratio, rent, bills, savings, that's 1/5, 3/8, and 17 over 40. So now next step is to get rid of the denominator. And to get rid of the denominator and convert these fractions into whole numbers, I'm going to multiply all three by 40. Why? Because we know 40 is divisible by 5, 40 is divisible by 8, and 40 is divisible by 40 as well. So that's going to give us 8 over here, 15 over here, because 40 divided by 8 is 5, and 5 times 3 is 15, and 17 over here. This is our ratio in its simplest form. So to recap, we started with converting the percentage into a fraction. Then we found the fraction for earnings. Then we found the fraction for savings. And once we had all the three fractions for rent, bills, and savings, we created a ratio in the given format. And then we got rid of the denominator by multiplying all the fractions by 40, because that was the common multiple over here. And after that, we got this ratio in whole numbers and in its simplest form. And the next question says, Abid invests $2,400 in a savings account for 4 years. The account pays simple interest at a rate of R% per year. At the end of 4 years, he receives a total of $153.60 in interest. Calculate the value of R. So since it's simple interest, the formula we're going to use is PRT. The interest is given as 153.60. Principal amount is 2,400. Time is 4, and R is what we have to find. So this is going to be our formula, and we're going to solve this. I'm going to make R the subject by multiplying 153.60 by 100 and dividing it by 2,400 times 4. And this will give us 1.6%. So that is the rate of interest for Abid's investment. Then Abid invests some money in a different savings account. This account pays compound interest at a rate of 1.4% per year. At the end of 5 years, there is $1,822.38 in the account. Calculate the money that he invested. So when we have compound interest, your final amount equals to P times 1 plus r over 100 to the power of t. T is what we have to find. R, the rate of interest, is given as 1.4%, and time is given as 5. And the final amount is given as 1,822.32. So we will put the final amount equal to P times 1 plus 1.4 over 100 to the power of 5. So let's first find the value of the bracket. That's going to be 1.07198. Then we divide 1,822.38 by this value, and that's going to give us the principal amount or the initial amount that he invested, which is $1,700.01. Question 2 says the table shows the ages and heights of 10 boys. Then they've given us a scatter plot. Complete the scatter diagram. The first 6 points have been plotted for you. So let's write down the coordinates for the other 4 points. 13 and 158, 17 and 175, 13 and 150, and 16 and 160. So 13 and 158 are going to be over here. Then 17 and 175. Over here. 13 and 150. That's going to be over here. And lastly, 16 and 160. That's here. So these are the other 4 points. Then it says draw a line of best fit and use your line of best fit to estimate the height of a 14-year-old boy. Line of best fit is going to be that line that basically has the same number of points above the line and below the line. This is the line of best fit that I'm getting. And they want us to find the height of a age of a boy who is 14 years old. Want us to find the height of a boy who is 14 years old. So I'm getting 158 approximately. Then Simon is 22 years old. Explain why your line of best fit should not be used to estimate his height. Why it shouldn't be used to estimate his height is because if you look at the values in the table, our maximum value is 16 and Simon is 22 years old, which means it can't be a part of this. Like you can't like estimate the value from the graph because the maximum value we have is at 16. So he's out of the range. That's why you can't estimate Simon's height from this graph. Part B says the table summarizes the heights of 180 girls in year 7 of a school. We have the class intervals of height and the corresponding frequency. Work out the percentage of girls who are taller than 145 centimeters. So that's going to be this bracket. So that's going to be 62 plus 24 over the total number of girls, which is 180 times 100. 47.8%. Then it says calculate an estimate of the mean height. So to calculate the estimate of the mean height, we need to find the midpoint of the class intervals. So the midpoint of 125 and 135 is going to be 130. Between 135 and 140, we have 137.5. Between 140 and 145, we have 142.5. And between 145 and 150, we have 147.5. And between 150 and 160, we have 155. The reason why we're finding these midpoints is because if you look at the question says estimate. So between these intervals, there are 8 people. We don't know what is the exact height. Like for example, if you look at the first interval from 125 to 135, we can see that there are 8 people in this interval. But we don't know what is the exact height of these 8 people. They can be like 126, they can be 127, 130, 134, 135, anything. So since we're not sure about the exact height value, that's why we're finding the estimate. And since it's an estimate for the x value, what we do is we find the middle value for each of these class intervals and then use that to find the mean. Hence, the mean formula that we're going to use is sigma fx over sigma f. Sigma means sum, which means we multiply 130 and 8, then add that to the product of 137.5 times 31 plus 142.5 times 55 plus 147.5 times 62 and then plus 155 times 24. And then all of this is being divided by 180 and that's going to equal to 144.4. This is your centimeter. This is your mean value of the height for this given data set. Then question 3 says complete the table. So they've given us a cubic equation and they want us to find the value of y when x is 3. So we substitute x equals to 3 in the equation. And we get 27 over 2 minus 9 plus 2. And in decimals, that is going to equal to 6.5. So now they want us to plot these values on the grid below. Okay, so let's plot these now. -3 and -2.5. -3 is over here. -2.5 is here. So let's draw a line. This is the first point. Then -2 and 4. That's -2. And +4 is here. So -1 and 4.5. Zero, 2, that's going to be over here. Then 1, -0.5. It's going to be over here. And 2, 0. So I'm going to remove this. And lastly, 3 and 6.5. That is over here. Because this needs to be 1, -0.20. Yeah, now that's going to make sense. Yep, that's a graph. So what are we supposed to find? Write the coordinates of the minimum point of your graph where x is greater than 0, and then use your graph to solve the equation for x cube equals to -3x plus 2 equal to 0. So where x is greater than 0, and they're talking about the minimum point. This is your maximum point because it's an upside down, and this is your minimum point. So minimum point is going to be over here. So since my graph is not that smooth, let me just make that better. Slightly better. Okay. So I'm going to say that my minimum point is this. So then since you're asking for the coordinates, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3. So -0.6, and this is 1.1. So 1.1 and -0.6. This is the minimum point that I'm getting at the moment. And they said that find the value of the graph when the equation is equal to 0. So draw a line at y equals to 0, which is this. That y equals to 0, we're getting 3 values at y equals to 0 over here. X equals to 2, x equals to 0.7, and x equals to -2.9. These are the 3 values I get when I draw the line of y equals to 0. Might be different for you because obviously, like the way we've all drawn our graph, it's all freehand. So these values are just an estimate, but they must have given a range in the marking scheme to make sure that all correct values are included in the answer. Question 4 has given us 2 functions, f of x and g of x, and they want us to find the value of f of 8. So f of 8 is going to be 8 square minus 7, which is 64 minus 7, and that is going to equal to 57. Then it says find g of negative 2, so that's going to be 4 minus 3 times negative 2 over 2, which is 4 plus 6 over 2, 10 over 2, and that is 5. Then it says find g of inverse. So we'll start with putting g of x equals to y. So y equals to 4 minus 3x over 2. Cross multiply to get rid of the fractions. So now we have 4 minus 3x equals to 2y. I'm going to swap 21 with negative 3x to make 3x positive, because at the end we're basically trying to make x the subject. So it's better that x is positive, like since the beginning. So now we divide both sides by 3. X is going to be 4 minus 2y over 3, which means g inverse of x is going to be 4 minus 2x over 3. Then solve f of 2x minus 1 plus 3. F of x was given as x squared minus 7. So f of 2x minus 1 would be 2x minus 1 whole square minus 7. So this plus 3 equals to 0. So 2x minus 1 whole square minus 7 plus 3 equals to 0. Expand the bracket. So we can use a plus b whole square, which equals to a square plus 2ab plus b square. In this case, 2x minus 1 whole square is going to be 2x square minus 2 times 2x times 1 plus 1 square, which is 4x square minus 4x plus 1. Since it's 2x minus 1, so 2ab becomes negative. If it's 2x plus 1, 2ab would be positive like over here. So that's going to be 4x square minus 4x plus 1 minus 7 plus 3 equal to 0. Combine the like terms. So 1 minus 7 plus 3 is going to be negative 3. Now we factorize this quadratic equation. You multiply 4 with 3, which gives us 12. Then you find factors of 12. So factors of 12 are 12 times 1, 6 times 2, and 4 times 3. We are going to choose that sort of factors which, when added or subtracted, give us the middle term, which is negative 4x. So we know 12 plus 1 is 13, and 12 minus 1 is 11. So this is out of our options. 4 plus 3 is 7, and 4 minus 3 is 1, so that is also gone. 6 minus 2 is 4, so that fits our equation. So we're going to replace negative 4x with negative 6x plus 2x, because when we solve negative 6x plus 2x, that also gives us negative 4x. Hence, we can easily replace it with that. So that's going to be 4x squared minus 6x plus 2x minus 3. Now we factor by grouping. So we're going to divide the equation into two groups, and then we're going to factor them accordingly. So between 4x squared and 6x, we have 2x common. So we'll have x minus 3 . So we'll have 2x minus 3 in the bracket. And between 2x minus 3, we have plus 1 common. So we'll have 2x minus 3 in the bracket. So that's going to be 2x minus 3 times 2x plus 1. So one value of x is 3 over 2, and the other value of x is negative 1 over 2. That is your answer. Question 5 says George has 2 bags, each containing black balls and white balls. George says, I am more likely to take a black ball from bag 2 than from bag 1. Show that George is correct. So now if we look at the bags, we can say in bag 1 there are 4 black balls. And in bag 2 we have 5 black balls. Total in the first bag are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 balls. And total in bag 2 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 11. Which means the probability of black balls in the first bag is going to be 4/9. And the probability of black balls in bag 2 is going to be 5/11. As you can see in bag 2, George has a greater chance of getting a black ball because the probability is higher for the black balls in bag 2 compared to bag 1. That is why George is correct. 5/11 is greater than 4/9. George takes a ball at random from bag 2, notes its color and replaces it. Repeats this 220 times. How many times would you expect to get a white ball? So in the second bag, the probability of white balls was 6/11, because if the probability of black balls is 5/11, probability of white would be 1 minus 5/11, which is 6/11. So how many times would you expect to take a white ball if he repeats this 220 times? You multiply 220 with 6/11, and that gives us 120. That is your answer. In part B, it says the bag contains 7 blue counters, 6 red counters, and 3 green counters. Yasmin takes 2 counters from the bag at random without replacement. Complete the tree diagram. So basically, if she's taking 2 counters without replacement, if she's taking a blue counter, what will happen is that 1 would get reduced from the total number of blue counters, so 7 becomes 6, and 16 becomes 15 because she's taking a blue counter. After blue counter, if she takes red, the probability of red is going to be 6/15. Why? Because red counters are 6 in total, and the total number of counters have changed because Yasmin took blue counter in the first attempt, according to this branch of the tree diagram. Then for green, it's going to be 3/15. Once again, the total amount is changing for green, but not the number of green counters because Yasmin has not taken a green counter yet. Next, if she takes a red counter, your blue counter number would be the same, but the total would once again be 15 because we have 1 less counter now. For red, it would become 5/15 now, and green would be 3/15. And if she takes a green counter, red would be 6/15, and green would be 2/15. So these are your probabilities. Then it says find the probability that at least one of the counters she takes is red. So for that, if one of the counters she takes is red, she can take a blue first, and then she can take a red. She can take a red first, then she can take a blue. She can take a red, and then she can take a red. She can take a red first and then a green. And lastly, she can take a green first, and then she can take a red. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different possibilities of her at least taking 1 red counter. So your probability will be 7/16 times 6/15 plus, next possibility is going to be 6/16 times 7/15, then plus 6/16 times 5/15, then again plus 6/16 times 3/15, and then again plus 3/16 times 6/15. So as you can see, these are 5 different combinations in which she can take at least 1 red counter in each attempt. So when you multiply and add these up, you should get 5/8. Question 6 is the position vector of point A is 4, 7 and position vector of point B is 9, 2. Find the column vector AB. So AB is going to be OB minus OA. So that's going to be 9, 2 minus 4, 7. 9 minus 4, 2 minus 7, which is 5 and -5. That is your column vector for AB. Then the next part, they're asking you to find the magnitude of AB. For the magnitude of AB, we will do square root of 5 square plus square of -5 square. That's 25 plus 25, which is square root of 50. And that equals to 7.07. Question 3 says ABCD is a parallelogram with sides AB, BC, CD, and DA. BC is given as -4, 1. Find the coordinates of points C and D. So if I just sketch the parallelogram over here, A, B, C, D. BC is -4, 1. We just found AB, which was 5 and -5. What we can do is, using BC and OB, which was given as 9, 2, we can find OC. So that's going to be BC equals to OC minus OB. So that's -4, 1 equals to OC minus 9, 2. We take 9, 2 to the other side. So that's going to be -4, 1 plus 9 and 2 minus 4 plus 9, 1 plus 2. And OC is 5 and 3. Coordinates of C are 5, 3. Now to figure out the coordinates of point D, A was given as 4, 7 and B is 9, 2. So your distance of AB is going to be the same as the distance of DC. Why? Because they're parallelograms, and in parallelograms, opposite distances are equal. If we compare the x and y coordinates of A and B, between the x coordinates, if you go from 4 to 9, we're adding 5. And if you look at the y coordinates, if you go from 7 to 2, we're subtracting 5. So C we found as 5, 3. So if we go from C to D, that means we're going backwards. So we will subtract 5 from it. So x of D would be 5 minus 5, which is 0. And then y of D would be 3 plus 5, which is 8. Because if you look at the trend of AB, if we go in the left direction, the y coordinate increases and the x coordinate decreases, which means we subtract 5 from the x coordinate of C, that gives us 0. And we add 5 to 3, which gives us 8. So D has the coordinates of 0, 8. That is our answer. Part B says P is the point R4 and Q is the point TU. The midpoint of the line PQ is 1, 3 and the gradient of the line PQ is -1, 4. Find the value of RT and U. So let's start with the gradient. Gradient has the formula of y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Negative 1 over 4 would equal to u minus 4 over t minus r. Cross multiply to get rid of the fraction. So negative 1 times t minus r equals to 4 times u minus 4, which is negative t plus r equals to 4u plus 16. R equals to 4u plus 16 plus t. Let's call this our first equation. Now I'm going to move to the next information, which is the midpoint. So midpoint has the formula of x1 plus x2 over 2, comma y1 plus y2 over 2. Midpoint is given as 1, 3. So we'll do r plus t over 2, comma 4 plus u over 2. So that means 1 equals to r plus t over 2. Cross multiply, so 2 equals to r plus t. And 3 equals to 4 plus u over 2. Cross multiply, 6 equals to 4 plus u. 6 minus 4 is u and 2 is u. So we already have the value of u, which is 2. Now we can substitute that in this equation and make this equation just in terms of r and t, where this is going to be minus 6. Yeah, 1 second. For you, minus 16. That's going to be r equals to 4 times 2 minus 16 plus t, which is 8 minus 16 plus t, and that is negative 8 plus t. That is r. We will substitute this in this. So that's going to be 2 equals to minus 8 plus t, which is 2 plus 8 equals to 2t. 10 equals to 2t and t is 5. So r would be 2 equals to r plus 5, 2 minus 5, 2 minus 5, and negative 3 is r. So u is 2, t is 5, and r is negative 3. In question 7, it says that describe clearly the single transformation that maps shape A onto shape B. So as you can see, shape A and shape B have the same shape. There's no enlargement, there's no rotation. Thus, we're only left with translation. So there's a translation. Now, to understand what is the translation vector, let's pick the same point on shape A and shape B. So on shape A, this point has the coordinates of 3, 4. And on shape B, it has the coordinates of 5 and negative 1. So as you can see, the x value increases by 2. So it moves 2 units to the right. And for the y value, it's decreasing by 5. So 5 units down. So 2, negative 5 is our translation vector. Reflect shape A in the x-axis. So we draw a line on the x-axis. Once we have drawn the line on the x-axis, we highlight the points that we're going to reflect. So this point is 3 units from the x-axis, which means it's going to be 3 units from the x-axis on the other side as well. This point is also 3, so this comes over here, and these two come over here. So as you can see, we have a mirror image of A in the x-axis. Enlarge shape A by scale factor of 2, center 5, 4. So center 5, 4 is going to be over here. So if you look at this point is 2 units from the center, and our scale factor is given as 2, which means if scale factor is 2, this distance will be multiplied by 2, and that's going to become 4. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. So this is going to be the first point. Then for this point, since there's a distance of 1 between the pink and the red block, so that means it's going to become 2. Then for this point, again, distance will become 2 because originally it's 1. And lastly, over here, distance of 2 points, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. So if we connect the points, this is going to be our enlarged shape. It has the coordinates of 1, 2, 1, 4, -1 and 4, and -3 and 2. Transformation P is represented by the matrix 0, 1, -1, 0. P maps shape A onto shape C. Draw and label shape C. So we have 0, 1, -1, 0. That is the transformation matrix. And shape A has the coordinates of, we have 3, 4 over here, 3, 3, 1, 3, and this is 2, 4. Whenever in your identity matrix, the second column's x value is negative, that means what we're going to do is we're going to swap our x and y coordinates and make the x coordinate negative. So for example, over here we have 3, 4, right? So to find the coordinates for C, what we will do, we will swap the coordinates first and make it 4, 3. And then we'll make the x coordinate negative. So -4, 3. That's going to be a new coordinate. So -4, 3 is going to come over here. Then if you pick another point, this one. So that's 3, 3. So for 3, 3, we swap the coordinates and then make the x coordinate negative. So that's going to be -3 and +3. So -3, +3, that is going to be over here. Then next what we have is 1, 3. So for 1, 3, we swap it. So that's going to be 3, 1. And then we make it negative. So -3 and 1. So -3 and 1, that's going to be over here. So for C. And lastly, 2, 4. So 2, 4 becomes 4, 2. And then it becomes -4, 2. So -4 and 2, that is over here. Now if we join the points, that is your shape C. Then it asks us to describe the transformation that maps A onto C. So if we describe it, we can see that A is being rotated anti-clockwise because it's going in the opposite direction, and it's being rotated by an angle of 90 degrees. So 90 degrees anti-clockwise. And for the center, it's 0, 0. Why? Because if you measure the distance of this point from the center, it's 3 units vertically and 1 unit horizontally. And over here for this point, it becomes 3 horizontal and 1 vertical, which means 0, 0 is our center. So that's the transformation that maps A onto C. Find the matrix representing the transformation that maps shape C onto shape A. So for that, what we'll have is 0, -1, 1, 0. In that case, you will swap your x and y coordinates again, but this time y would be negative, not x. Question 8 says Lara and Marco each cycle 50 kilometers on a cycle trail. Lara cycles at an average speed of x kilometers per hour, and Marco cycles at an average speed of x minus 3 kilometers per hour. Write down an expression for the time in hours Lara takes to complete the trail. So it's going to be time equals to distance over speed. That's going to be 50 over x. Then it says Marco takes 15 minutes longer than Lara to complete the trail. Hence, form an equation and show that it simplifies to x squared minus 3x minus 600 equals to 0. So Marco is 50 over x minus 3 and Lara is 50 over x. Marco takes 15 minutes longer, which means the difference of their times will equal to 15 minutes. These speeds are given in hours, so which means we divide 15 by 60 because 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. If the speeds were given in kilometers per minute, then you would keep 15 as it is. But since it's in hours, so we have to divide 15 minutes by 60 and convert into hours. So now what we do is we make the denominator equal on the left-hand side by multiplying the first fraction by x and the second fraction by x minus 3. So that's going to be 50x minus 50 times x minus 3 equals to 15 over 60. That's going to be 50x minus 50x plus 150 over x times x minus 3 equals to 15 over 60 can be simplified to 5 3s are 15 and 5 12s are 60, which can be 1 over 4. So cross multiply 50x minus 50x is 0. So 150 times 4 equals to 1 times x minus 3. 150 times 4 is going to be 600 equals to x squared minus 3x. 0 equals to x squared minus 3x minus 600, which is what the question was asking us to prove. Then we have to solve the equation to find the values of x, giving our answer correct to 2 decimal places. So we use the quadratic formula, x equals to negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. A is the coefficient of x, which is going to be 1. A is the coefficient of x squared, which is going to be 1. B is the coefficient of x, which is going to be negative 3. And C is the constant, which is negative 600. That's going to be minus negative 3 plus minus square root of negative 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 600 over 2 times 1. That's going to be 3 plus minus 9 plus 2400 over 2. 3 plus minus 49.081 divided by 2. So one value would be 3 plus 49.081 over 2. And the other would be 3 minus 49.081 over 2. So for the first one, we'll have 26.04. And for the second one, we'll have negative 23.04. These are your two values of x. Part D says find the time Marco takes to complete the trail. So obviously we'll use the value of x equals to 26.04 hours. The question is asking the time in hours and minutes correct to the nearest minute. So let's divide this into 2 plus 0.17. This 0.17 will be converted into minutes by multiplying that by 60. And that's going to give us 10.2 minutes. So it's 2 hours and 10.2 minutes. So since it says correct to the nearest minute, so that's going to be 2 hours and 10 minutes. That is your 2 hours and 10 minutes. That is your answer. Question 9 says K thinks of a number n. She subtracts 8 from the number and multiplies the result by 3. The answer is 11 less than the number she thought of. Form an equation in n and solve it to find Kate's number. So she thinks of a number n, subtracts 8 from it, multiplies it by 3, and the answer is 11 less than the number she thought, so n minus 11. So we expand the bracket, 3n minus 24 equals to n minus 11. Collect the like terms on each side, so 3n minus n and negative 11 plus 24. That's 2n equals to 13 and n equals to 13 over 2, which is equal to 6.5. Write as a single fraction in its simplest form. So we have two fractions being divided. Let's take the reciprocal of the second fraction. X squared minus 4 over 2 equals to multiply because we're taking the reciprocal of the second fraction. So that changes division into multiplication. And this becomes 4 over x squared plus 2x. Now let's factorize the quadratic parts. X squared minus 4 is basically difference of perfect squares. That is equal to a plus b times a minus b. So over here, that's going to be x minus 2 times x plus 2. So x minus 2 times x plus 2 over 2 times 4 over x common over here, x plus 2. Cancel the x plus 2. 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4. So 2 times x minus 2 over x is your answer. Question 10 says the diagram shows the positions of 3 towns P, Q, and R. Q is on a bearing of 52 from P. PQ is 11.5, QR is 14.6, and PR is 17.2. Calculate the bearing of R from Q. Let's draw the compasses first. Calculate the bearing of R from Q. So Q is on a bearing of 52 from P, which means this part will also be 52 because in parallel lines, alternate angles are equal. PQ is acting as a transversal between the north of P and the north of Q, which are two parallels. So these two become alternate angles. Then what we have is calculate the bearing of R from Q. So basically they're asking us to find wait. I have to find this angle. Yeah. So we can find the first entire angle Q using cosine. Why cosine? Because we have all three lengths of this triangle and one of the angles is missing, which we actually all three angles are missing, but we only need to find one angle first. So we'll use cosine rule. So it's going to be cos of Q equals to PQ square plus QR square minus PR square divided by 2 times PQ times QR. So that's going to be 11.5 square plus 14.6 square minus 17.2 square divided by 2 times 11.5 times 14.6. This entire fraction will equal to 0.147617. Then we take cos inverse of this, and that is going to give us 81.5 as the angle PQR. So now this entire angle is 81.5. So first what we'll do is we'll subtract 52 from 81.5 to find this orange angle. So that's going to be 81.5 minus 52, which gives me 29.5. And then to find the bearing, I'll take the different color. Bearing of R from Q, that's going to be 180 minus 29.5 because you're trying to find this angle. So that's going to give us 150.5. That is your answer. A is a point on horizontal ground. The angle of elevation of the top of a vertical mass from A is 68. Correct to the nearest degree. The distance of the base of the mass from A is 45 meters. Correct to the nearest meter. Calculate the lower bound of the height of the mass. So if we draw our diagram, A is a point on horizontal ground. This is the mass, M and T. The distance of the base of the mass from A is 45 meters. Angle of elevation is 68. They want us to find the length of TM, which is the height. So we have the adjacent, we have the angle, we need to find the hypotenuse, which means we'll use tan of angle A equals to H over 45. So 45, actually wait. We have the adjacent, we have the angle, we need to find the opposite. So formula would be tan of A equals to Tm over Am basically. So Tm would be Am times tan of A. Since they want us to find the lower bound of the height, and in our equation, we're multiplying the two quantities, which means it's going to be lower bound times lower bound to find the lower bound of the height, which means our Am has to be in the lower bound form and the angle also has to be in the lower bound form. So lower bound of angle A, for that, first we divide the degree of accuracy by 2. So 1 over 2 is 0.5 degrees. So for the lower bound, we will subtract 0.5 from 68, which will give us 67.5 degrees. This is the lower bound of the angle. Then for the lower bound of AM, we will again divide the degree of accuracy by 2. So that's going to be 1 over 2, which is 0.5. And then to the length, we will subtract 0.5 from 4.5 to find the lower bound, which is going to be 44.5 meters. So now let's replace the values. 44.5 times tan of 67.5 equals to Tm. That is going to give us 107.4 meters as the length of the mass, the height of the mass basically. Question 11 says the diagram shows a regular pentagon ABCDE with center O. AB is 6 centimeters, OA is D centimeters. Show that D equals to 5.10 centimeters, correct to 2 decimal places. So let me just draw this as a triangle over here. So if we connect all the vertices with O, we can see that we have 5 identical triangles. And angles around a point add up to 360. So if we divide 360 by 5, that will give us one of these angle, which is basically going to equal to 72. So this angle is 72 degrees. So if this is 72, that means half of it will be 36. And this half will be 3, this half will be 3, this is D. It's a 90-degree angle. So what we can do is we can use tangent, tan of 36. Actually, no. So since a right angle triangle, we can use SOHCAHTOA. We have the opposite. We don't have the hypotenuse, so we can use sine of 36 equals to 3 over D. D equals to 3 over sine of 36. And that's going to give us 5.10 centimeters, correct to 2 decimal places. Part B says that the regular pentagon ABCDE forms the base of a pyramid. The vertex F is vertically above O. The length of each of sloping edge of the pyramid is 14 centimeters. Calculate the volume of the pyramid. So we just figured out that D has the value of 5.10. And this is D basically. So this is a right angle triangle because F is vertically above O. We have the hypotenuse. So we can find FO, which is the height of this pyramid. So 14 square equals to 5.10 square minus OF square. 14 square minus 5.10 square root is going to give us OF. So that's going to equal to square root of 169.99, which is basically equal to 13.04 centimeters. Now we have the height. Base area is basically going to equal to 5 times the area of these triangles. So if you remember, we divide the shape into 5 equal triangles. So if you find the area of one triangle, you know the angle over here was 72. This is 5.1, this is 5.1, and this is 6. So we can use the formula 1 over 2 AB sine of angle C. That's going to be 5 times 1 over 2 times 5.10 square, because A is 5.10 and B is also 5.10, times sine of 72, because C is this angle C, 61.84 centimeter square. So volume would be 1 over 3, if following the formula in the question, times the base area, which is 61.84, times the height, which is OF, 13.04, and that's going to equal 268.8 centimeter cube. That is your volume of the pyramid.